The wealthiest people in the world got wealthy from helping other people achieve their dreams, not and solve their problems, not just doing it yourself. So
I'm an abundance guy. It just makes me proud that people will follow us like this. I said, well, why don't I just become your annuity provider? She said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you need $9,000 a month for the next 10 years, why don't I just give you $9,000 a month?
we call it the Great Resignation, where you had more people quit their jobs than ever before back in 2020, 2021. You and I've paid $30,000 to $60,000 in a year to jump into a mastermind. You consult for millionaires, don't ever consult for thousandaires, because how to find your perfect ideal scenario business owner who has a bleeding problem that you're able to solve, you're able to leverage your resources in exchange for equity and get them to offer you equity.
One of the things I've noticed is a lot of those business owners, they don't really want to sell, right? They're lonely. Right, they're absolutely lonely. Like, first question I always ask a seller is...
A very warm welcome to the Creative Dealmaker Podcast. I'm Carl Allen, I'm your host, and I'm going to be interviewing expert guests sharing investor strategies that will completely and utterly disrupt the market when it comes to buying and selling businesses all over the world.
Hey guys, Carl Allen. Welcome back to the Creative Dealmaker Podcast. I have a very, very special guest today. He's one of my two major business partners in all of the things that I do inside of my portfolio, probably the greatest marketer that I've ever met. We'll get into that in a minute. So very warm welcome to Chris Moore. How you doing, my friend?
Man, glad to be here. Life is good.
Yeah, and like, you're not in your normal home office, right? Like, I've moved offices this week. We'll talk about that in a minute. You're down in Jacksonville with the family for the whole summer. I guess one of the great things about being a deal maker, we can go and live and work and do whatever we want, right?
Yeah, down here for a month and just working remotely. We can do that pretty much anywhere we want. So
yeah, well, we'll get into a whole bunch of stuff that you and I are doing at the moment, because I think it's really, really important. But a couple of things I want to share with you right now. So as you know, I've just done this crazy trip from England to Austin, not on a plane, but on a boat and in a car, with my wife, my son, and my dog, Ralph, because we didn't want to fly and we decided to send him in an easier way. So when I rocked up to my new Austin house, so my home office here, I haven't yet figured it out. I've got the throne chair. I've not put my basketball stuff up yet. I'm still like moving in, if you will. But when I pitched up here on Monday, so about 36 hours ago, two really cool things are waiting for me, right? So number one was this, right? So as you know, and you quarterbacked the whole launch of this for me, my Creative Dealmaker fable book. It's not a technical book. It's a book about two people that come together and transact on an acquisition. But I just want to thank you for turning me into an Amazon bestseller. I don't know how many thousands of copies we've sold, but the network, they're eating it up, man. They love the fact that I can talk about the drama and the emotion and the psychology of a deal through a novel rather than some boring technical book that teaches you kind of the process. We do that in the book, as you know, you read it. But yeah, I'm hoping that this book really helps our student base as well, understand those kind of intangibles. Because I think a lot of the times people that are buying and selling businesses, they don't understand. You and I've been through this in all the businesses we've bought, probably 15 or so in the last year, that seller psychology is key, isn't it?
It's absolutely key. Yeah, and my pleasure, man. It was fun. And we're just getting started. I have a plan that you haven't heard about yet on how to get you another 50,000 copies sold, almost all organically. So just wait and hear that later.
Yeah, you have a habit of doing that, right?
I do.
You have a habit of doing these little things for me, which I really appreciate. And then I only find out about it when it happens. So yeah, and this is a massive passion project for me, as you know. Like, it took me 6 months to write the thing. It's nearly 90,000 words, and all of you are in the book, right? You're in it. Ross is in it. Jeremy Bronson's in it. Everyone's in it. So one of the reasons why I could get so rich about the details is I'm talking about people that I know really well. So when I talked about you, there was this scene where you're trying to You're part of the big buyout team at the end of the deal, right? So, and I think I say Chris Moore, jack of all trades, master of them all. I think you're sorting out the Apple play so that Ross could like look at the slides and stuff, which was pretty cool. I got one other thing I want to show you. One thing I want to show you, which I'm really proud of, and I think you and I together as a partnership have made this happen. But let me go get it. Is when I rocked up on Monday, I got this. I almost burst into tears, man. Like I tell you, when I got the first one, when we got our 2 Comma Club award, that was special, right? And that's still in my UK house. That will come over when I eventually sell that property. But to get a 2 Comma Club X award, to know that in just one funnel on ClickFunnels, we've done $10 million in revenues just in one of our businesses, right? And it's not about the revenue for me, Chris. It's like every dollar that we generated through that funnel has changed lives, right? So think of the people that are in our program, right? Like Ross and Michael Scott and Abraham. Those are 3 9-figure deal makers. Like we're proud that we've done 10 million bucks through one funnel in Dealmaker Wealth Society, but we have 3 9-figure deal makers, lots and lots of 8-figure deal makers, and probably over 100 7-figure deal makers. And that's why we're doing this, right? Like, a lot of people say, like, why do you run a coaching company when you're so good at buying businesses? Well, we are. We bought 15 in the last year. We spend 80% of our time buying businesses and 20% of our time coaching. But the fact we're doing deals in the market now, we've got real-time insights as to what's changing. And then we're coaching our community about that. And then they're taking that knowledge and going and doing their own things. And one thing that makes me so proud, Chris? There are lots of people in our program richer than us. Because of the coaching we've given them, yet when they joined us, they were broke, right? Isn't that incredible? That's the thing that, when I wake up every day, makes me want to keep doing this for a long, long time.
Yeah, the success stories are almost endless. I'm hearing every day about new deals closing, and a lot of these deals are big deals too. I mean, deals where people have been forced in retirement. They feel like they still have gas in the tank. They go out and do one really big deal that's going to pretty much set them for life. We've got other people who it's really do or die. They've got to make something happen. They put in the work, they follow the training, and then they end up changing their entire situation and their entire family's future. So yeah, I agree, man. I'm mission over money. And when I decided to work again, I took, I had to shift away from what I was doing before, exited that, decided, hey, I can go wherever I want. You're the only one I wanted to work with, man. Because mission over money is a big part of my world. And that's where we're aligned so well. So yeah, the ClickFunnels 2 Comma X award, just so you know, I mean, you're only about 18 months away from getting the $25 million award, just so you know.
Are we really?
Yeah, there's a $25 million award, and it will be on your wall within the next 18 months. So
that'd be awesome. We probably get to meet Brunson to get that, correct?
Yeah, we can go if we want to. I think he wants to meet us.
Yeah, I heard that. Okay, cool. Yeah. So talking about the mission over money thing for a minute, right? Like one of the things that we always do, like we qualify people that come into our community. When we look at our protege community, people think it's kind of a fad, right? But it's not. Like we have calls, you and I alternate every week. Everybody that's applied to come into the program that wants to do this, wants a shot, we kind of almost interview them, right? So, and some of them we let in because we know they're good people. Some of them we don't let them in, right? We have that privilege because protecting our community is kind of everything to us. And I'll tell you why you and I believe this is because like we have one of the major core values that we insist on inside of Protege is the core value of being a noble capitalist, right? Because we're going to give these people really the keys to the kingdom. And if in the wrong hands, people can manipulate and do all those different things, right? We teach people how to buy businesses using other people's money. It's like the Force in Star Wars, right? I've got my Star Wars helmet somewhere that you bought me for Christmas, but in the Force, there's good guys, the Jedis, and there's bad guys, the dark side, right? For us, it's all about we're the deal maker Jedis. And the reason why I think it's so important is all the people we talked about, that like Lenny and Rachel and all these people that have made a lot of money as deal makers. What they're now doing is they're investing to become partners with all the other proteges that are coming into the program, right? So this noble capitalist ecosystem that we're building, I think is like so important. And there are a lot of people out there doing this now. Like, you and I have been partners now for what, 3 years? After I took the business back out of the guys that bought it, right? Before then, like there was only me, I think my friend Jeremy Harbour, maybe Mike Warren, Ace Chapman. We were the only people in the world that were kind of really doing this stuff. Now there's loads of people doing it, right? There's loads and loads of people doing it. And I was on a podcast the other day, and somebody said to me, well, does that not bother you that you're innovating in this market? You're coming out with all of this transfer of value analysis, you're building multiple models, you're running AI funnels, you're doing all this crazy stuff. And then within 90 days, everybody else is copying you. Like, I won't name names. I was watching a Facebook ad from one of our competitors. That person's quoting all of the stats that we built our model, like how many businesses sell, baby boomers retiring, all that stuff. And that makes me proud, man. That makes me proud that people see you and I as the real thought leaders in this industry, and they will take all of our innovation to do what they're doing, right? And again, some people would get angry with that, but not me. That makes me proud.
I agree. And you look at Alex Hermosi talks about normal, good, bad, and great markets. And business acquisition is a great market where the amount of demand and the amount of people entering the space is not kind of overwhelming the demand. Well, there's more demand than we can possibly handle. So the other thing is, and this is just a fact, there's so many people out there who are also doing this, and people go and invest in those courses. And unfortunately, they end up coming and seeking us out after often because they felt like they were duped or they didn't get what they were hoping to get. So I think it's just part of it. And I think we have great competitors in our space. We respect almost all of them.
Yeah.
Never talk about any of them. And I think we're all out there. As long as we're mission over money, I believe that I'm glad they're in the space. And I'll tell you, Carl, mission over money to me is more of a decision-making strategy as well. Like, I think you allow yourself to make decisions in your business around the mission, not just focused on money. You're not making decisions just about how can we make more money or sell more people, but instead keep the integrity. And I believe it was Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar once says that the wealthiest people in the world got wealthy from helping other people achieve their dreams, and solve their problems, not just doing it yourself. So I think it's a beautiful thing that we are able to keep that moral compass focused towards the mission and helping people. Yeah. Rather than just trying to squeeze all of our customers dry. I think it's just, we want them to win. So I really like what we do. And I truly believe that business acquisitions is the best kept secret, period, in investing. I think it's no longer a secret over the last couple of years, maybe because of how well, we put the word out in the marketplace, but there's nothing else that you can do, whether it's consulting for equity, whether it's buying using LBO strategies, or doing really big deals and getting outside investment, or whatever it is. I mean, there's nothing that can build wealth faster and generational wealth than buying businesses. So I love what we do, man.
Yeah, I know. And it's really, really cool that a lot of the buzzwords now in the market, like transfer of value, consulting for equity, annuity deals, all those things, like everybody talks about them now in the market. Those are things that we invented through doing it, right? We didn't just wake up one day and thought, oh, that would be cool. Sometimes we stumble across these things, like the annuity deal. I'll never forget, it was 2.5 years ago. I'm on a call with the seller of a company, and the seller wanted a 6 times multiple for this business. And as we know, most small businesses are in the 2 to 3 range, depending on a whole bunch of different things, right? So I said to the seller, wow, like, you want a 6 times multiple for your business. Your business then must be best in class, right? You must have the best business in the market. for what you do to command like the highest multiple. Tell me about that. Like, what is it? He's like, what are you talking about multiples? Like, I got no idea what a multiple is. My wealth manager valued my company. I was like, whoa, your wealth manager valued your company. Wealth managers are not qualified to value companies, right? Surely it was your CPA or somebody else that, is from the industry. No, my wealth manager. So tell me how he valued your company. He said, well, I told my wealth manager that I need to retire and I need guaranteed income for a minimum of 10 years of a certain level. So he ran the calculations. He calculated how much tax I would pay for a big monster closing payment, and then less fees and tax and a whole bunch of different things. What would be the cash flow that I would get for 10 years through like an annuity product, like a money market product, like from Fidelity or something. And I said, okay. I said, well, why don't I just become your annuity provider? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you need $9,000 a month for the next 10 years, why don't I just give you $9,000 a month? And he said, you can do that. You don't need to give me like a massive closing payment where I'll pay all this tax. I said, no, I can pay you $9,000 a month, right? You can have full security over the business. I'll even leave you with 10% of the ownership. So when I scale it up and buy other companies and create a really big business, then you will get a big capital payout for that 10%, but we can help you figure that out through a trust or some other tax efficient vehicle. And he said, okay, right, no problem. So he said, so what you're doing, Carl, is you're giving me you're giving me my valuation, my price, but you're setting the terms, right? And this is why a lot of the times we talk about there's only two variables in a negotiation when you're buying a business. You've got the price of the deal and you've got the terms of the deal, right? And all deals that close only happen is when a buyer or a seller jumps on one of those spots, right? It's like, I'm going to control the price. I want a 10 times multiple for my business. Well, great. We'll just pay you over 25 years. You can have your price. I set the terms. Or if the seller says, well, no, I want 90% of my money at closing. I don't want this long-term, could be an entrepreneur that wants to cash out and invest it in something else, happy to pay the tax, or they have a tax structure which minimizes the upfront tax liability. They'll say, well, hey, I'm going to set the price, I'm going to set the terms. I want all my money or most of it at close. You then get to tell me what you're prepared to pay to buy that business. Because when you're doing a leverage buyout, the price often is determined by the financial markets, right? And as you know, interest rates have gone up recently. That means multiples have come down because the debt service on the money you have to borrow gets impacted in what you can afford to pay for that business. So that's just like a story where like we innovate something in the market, and then not only does our community start going out and doing annuity deals. I can't remember how many annuity deals have been done, hundreds since we launched it. But now everyone's talking about it. Like, it made me laugh. Like, one of our competitors, not going to name names, said, yeah, think about an annuity deal. Even told the same story that I told back in the day. Yeah, like verbatim, as I just explained it, they told the same story. And again, I'm an abundance guy. It just makes me proud that people will follow us like this. It's like we're like the Alex Hormozy of the M&A space, right? Every time Hormozy, we love this dude, he's amazing. Every time he comes out with a new marketing strategy, everyone copies him in the market and they pretend it's theirs. And like, he doesn't care, right? Like, I don't care when people do it in our market.
Yeah, I agree. I think imitation is the largest form of flattery for sure. But I think it's all about that abundance mindset. And we're in a market that's continuously growing. And there's also the mission that you have, that you started this business around, is a lot of sellers as well, not just the buyers. But there's all these people that really need someone to come and buy their business, or they're going to go out of business. So I think having his competitors out there also coaching and training on this is just creating a bigger opportunity for sellers to get liberated. So I think it's all good. Well, Carl, can we talk about some of the new stuff we're doing?
Yeah, cool. Go ahead.
Coming down the pipeline. Yeah.
Go ahead.
One of the things, that I've been working on pretty pretty much every day for the last month, and we should be finished with it pretty soon, is this new program specifically around consulting for equity. I mean, that's such a huge thing that's growing in interest. And just for anybody who is listening who may not know exactly what that is, I mean, it's really learning how to do what you do best, but do it as a partner in a business rather than working for someone else. I mean, if you have the ability to solve a bleeding problem for a business or a business owner, there's ways to position yourself to get them to offer you equity to be a partner to solve that problem rather than just hire you as a consultant, a freelancer, or as a W-2 employee. And there's so many people, I think, coming out of COVID, Carl, who just saw that there's a better way to live life. You have all these people, we call it the great resignation, where you had more people quit their jobs than ever before back in 2020, 2021, searching for maybe a new life, maybe alternative job markets, business ownership, the benefits of business ownership. And a lot of them have fallen flat on their face. A lot of people are having to get back to reality and go back to work and get a paycheck, especially with cost of living and inflation going up like it is. There's a better way to do that than try to start a business or go drive for Uber or Instacart. And that is just really understand the concept of how to position yourself and how to find the right businesses where they're in the mindset of collaboration, looking for solutions to these bleeding problems and be their savior at that point and be able to do it in a way that's not slimy or salesy, but instead it's very magnetic. And that's what I teach specifically. That's what you teach. And we're coming out with a course called the Equity Partner. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Hey man, you look like you're in heaven right now with your screen.
I know there's this beautiful time in the morning because it's like 8:55 a.m. Austin time right now, and the sun. There's a little panel of glass in that corner where there's no blind, where the sun just comes in, and I feel very holy when this happens. It'll be gone in a few minutes. It's just my 5 minutes a day. That's why I bought the throne chair. Like I just feel like holy when I'm doing this. But going back to what you just talked about, like this is really interesting because if I look at our Dealmaker Protege community, like I think we have like, I don't know, 1,000 people in the community now. So what's really cool about that inner circle mentorship group is about a third of the people that come in want to be owner operators, right? So they're in a W-2, they want to get their hands dirty, they want to run the business, right? You and I don't do that. But that's a third of our members. Another third of our members want to be owner investors. So they want to build portfolios like you and I. They want to do lots of deals or they want to do roll-ups. We'll talk about roll-ups in a minute. And then another third, they don't want to be like the owner investor or the owner operator. They want to be a consulting for equity partner. So they want to have 5 or 10 or 20 different businesses that they have a meaningful investment in, 10 to 50% or whatever is negotiated. And then what's really interesting about that is they're deploying a really powerful skill set or a superpower, as we call it, that they have. They might be incredible at marketing like you. They might be a real badass CFO. They might be a deal maker where, let's say you've got a business owner wants to scale by acquisition, doesn't know how to do it, or doesn't want to come into a program like Protege and learn because they're busy running their business and they have other commitments. They'd rather outsource that to somebody that can take a share of the business and then run the process. I know we've got Toby in our program who's incredible with supply chain and goes into engineering companies and deploys that. So one of the things you said, when I first heard you speak about this, it was at an upper echelon mastermind last year. You said, you gave a presentation on this and like the jaws, you could hear the jaws hitting the floor when you were talking. And one of the things you said that has lived with me till this day is you said that I hope I'm not like letting the cat out of the bag, but you said your magic phrase that you say to a business owner to get equity in their deals, when they ask you, say, hey, Chris, you're an amazing marketer, I need you to come consult for me. You say this, I only consult for businesses that I own. I only consult for businesses that I own. I love that, right? Where did that come from? Like, that's like one of the most powerful statements I've ever seen in a negotiation. Like, where did that come from? Did that just come out of your mouth one day when you were in a negotiation? Like, where did it come from?
No, it came from it came from many years of making people rich. It came from many years of being the magic dust or the secret sauce in somebody else's recipe. And I think it came from the realization one day of finding that, okay, the reason why these have been successful in most part is because of my contributions, yet somebody else is getting all the upside. And I realized at that point, a lot of them were JV deals, or maybe I was a very minority partner in projects as a freelancer. But I realized what I had access to. I realized what I was worth. And I realized at that moment that I never wanted to really work for someone ever again. I never wanted to make somebody else wealthy. I never wanted to build somebody else's business for an exit without being able to get part of the upside. So I just decided one day I'm no longer for sale. I'm no longer for hire. And through, this equity partner angle, Carl, is what we're teaching on. And it's the concept of getting people to offer you equity. It's all about the concept of learning how to find the exact business owners that have bleeding problems that you can solve, finding them in the right mindset of collaboration, looking for help, seeking help, not finding some random older gentleman in a wood paneled office filled with smoke who's never had a partner in his life who would probably try to shoot you if you asked for equity, but instead have people approach you and want to work with you and say, what has to be true for us to work together? Or I saw what you did over there. I saw the problems that you're solving. I see the success you're having. How can we do that together? How can you come work for me? And having that magnetic moment where someone needs you, someone wants you, someone's looking for you to add value in their business, it's so natural to just plant the seed and say, listen, I only work in businesses I own. Happy to have that conversation, but that's really the only way I work. And at that point, you're training people to offer you equity. You're not going to have someone come back to you and try to hire you. You're not going to have someone come back and hire you as a consultant, but it's all about stating the way that you'll work. And it works like a charm, man. And what we'll teach inside the equity partner is all about the entire process, not just the equity partner angle of how to get people to offer you equity, but also a lot of different other ways that you can leverage this same skill in different types of deal making. So I'm glad that you're collaborating with me on the content. We also have Dan Giordano, who's also been on your podcast, going to work with us on it. And I truly believe the sizable, like the total addressable market for this is it's as big, if not a little bigger than traditional business acquisition, because
I think it's 10 times bigger.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why, because I think this is a nice segue into the kind of sell side, right? So one of the reasons why you and I have stayed away from the sell side coaching market, right? There's loads and loads of people out there now. I don't really know any of them that are offering coaching for sellers to get their businesses ready for sale or to increase your value or whatever you do. And we've kind of stayed away from that, because I think one of the things I've noticed in the market, and you have as well, from the thousands and thousands of business owners that I talk to every year, because I'm trying to buy their companies with you, right? And one of the things I've realized is a lot of those business owners, they don't really want to sell, right? They're lonely, right? They're absolutely lonely. Like, first question I always ask a seller is, why are you selling the business, right? Why are you selling? And when I ask them, this is why I'll only ever do a seller conversation in person or on Zoom where I can see them. Because when I ask them why they're selling, I look at their face, right? So I can tell if they're lying or not. Did you ever see the TV show Lie to Me with Tim? I think it's called Tim Roth, the British guy. He's a former FBI negotiator, and he developed. So it's a TV show. It's like a drama series. He was like a human lie detector. So people like the police would bring him in, and rather than a polygraph, he could tell if someone was lying. And I've read all the books that have come off the back of that. So depending on where people's eyes go when they speak, or they'll touch their face, they'll blink a lot, you can tell if they're lying. So I'll always ask a seller straight up, once I've built rapport, why are you selling the business? And a lot of times they'll say, because I'm lonely. Like, I just don't want to do this on my own anymore, right? It's lonely at the top. I have a team and they're great, but they won't be my partner. I can't have them be my partner. They're not strong enough or capable enough, or they're not ready. I need somebody to brainstorm with me. I need like a sparring partner. Like, if you're a boxer, like, I have a very good friend and business partner, Ross, he was a former professional boxer. He'll tell you that, to really get good at boxing, you have to spar a lot, right? And business owners need to spar a lot oftentimes. So when you're asking a seller, like, hey, why are you selling? And say, well, I don't really want to sell. It's just I'm bored and lonely in this thing and kind of running out of ideas and energy. And I think maybe it's time to give it to somebody else. That's great if you want to buy it. But I think there's 10x the market. People say, well, hey, what if I come in as your partner, right? What if I take all the sales and marketing off your hands? Like, you don't like numbers? Great. I'll be your CFO. I'll get the books all cleaned up. We can look at ways to take costs out of the business to increase the value. I can go out and look at deals to bolt on. We can do all these crazy things, right? And if you look at the market, there's about 30 million small businesses in the US today, and about half of them are what I call non-payroll businesses. They're LLC holdcos, or they're doing real estate or whatever. So there's probably 10, maybe as high as 15 million like real companies, right? And there's probably about 2.5 million businesses for sale. I reckon more than half of those don't really want to sell. So if you take the rest of the market, every one of those businesses, like the 10 or 50 million, they want to scale. They want to be more profitable. And they're lacking the people inside of those organizations to really move the needle. So that's the opportunity that I think. And I said to you when you told me about this, like, I fell over when you first pitched me on this, I literally fell off my chair. I'm like, dude, I think that might be the biggest coaching thing, that we ever do. And I know I was on a protege call while you were in Ireland on vacation, and I was talking about it a little bit, and people were like, when is it coming out? Like we want to get into that, and it's going to be really, really cool. So yeah, I'm really excited.
I think it's going to be something that also levels the playing field a little bit. Sometimes small business M&A and buying companies, there is a certain financial profile that is needed for certain types of transactions. Of course, there's people that can come in and do annuity deals, but there's also a lot of really young people who have a lot of skills and have a great track record who can get their foot in the door with consulting for equity in ways that it may be more difficult for them to do other types of traditional acquisitions. And like you said, I mean, you got 10 to 15 million business owners out there that are potentially in some level of distress, not necessarily financially, but they're getting to a place where they're hitting a plateau where they need something. They have a big problem to solve, or maybe like you gave an example, they want to grow through acquisition. Like, there's so many different things people need. And these are cash flowing businesses. These are profitable businesses. And believe it or not, it may be a limiting belief some people have, and we'll break them of that, Carl. But a lot of times when I talk about this, people say, well, why would someone want to partner with me? Right. And there's an art to that. There's an art to learning how to present yourself and position yourself correctly. And we have the 6 Ps, right? I don't want to give it all away right now because I want you to go take the course and really benefit from it. But there's so many different ways to make yourself magnetic and be able to show. We say demonstration builds reputation, and there's so many different ways to show people and create that magnetic feeling where people want to work with you. Like one of your buddies, Daniel Priestley, wrote a book called Becoming a Key Person of Influence.
Yeah.
I mean, extremely relevant to this topic. So I'm really excited about it. There's so many business owners that think selling may be the solution. But when they get into conversations, and from our students where their businesses aren't even buyable, right? You can't buy it. You can't finance it. The books aren't in order. They're not profitable. And there's a solution for those type of businesses through consulting for equity, from bringing somebody in who has the answers to their problems, make them a partner, and then the world opens up so much from there. So really excited about that journey. We've got some other cool stuff going down the pipeline as well, Carl, besides the equity partner.
Yeah, just a couple of things on equity partner before we move into the other stuff. So the 2 reasons why I'm really, really excited about equity partner, right, is number one of the things that we look at, we invented this, right, is what we call transfer of value. So when we look at a lot of businesses, one of the reasons why a lot of businesses are not viable is because the owner is the business, right? So the owner doesn't really have a business. They have a job in their own business. And it was my good friend, Michael Gerber, who first started talking about this 20 years ago when he wrote the E-Myth, right? That's one of the reasons why most businesses also fail. We know 96% of all startups fail within 10 years. It's because the owner is good at what the business does, right? So the auto mechanic starts an auto repair shop, right? The chef starts a restaurant. The electrician starts an electrical contracting business. They're really good at the technical work the business does, but they haven't got the skills of actually running the business, the sales, the marketing, the operations, the accountability, all those different things. And so what I love about Equity Partner is number one, when we go in and we teach people to go in with the skill sets, we can transfer the value of that business. We can take the owner out of the day-to-day operation and build systems and processes around them so that somebody can buy that business and it work without the owner necessarily being in there. And what I think is brilliant about that is Equity Partner, for me, is the perfect segue to drive future M&A, right? And there's 4 ways I think Equity Partner can drive M&A in the deals. Number one, we talked about it before, the Equity Partner can go in and be responsible for the future deal making. So bolt-on acquisitions, tuck-ins, execute on a roll-up, all those different things. But then there's 3 other ways a transaction can occur through a consulting for equity arrangement. So number one, so let's say I own the business, and ironically, this is what you and I did. I owned a business, I brought you in. We went 50-50 down the middle. It was a classic consulting for equity partnership. We're in this for the very long haul. But the 3 options you and I had available at the time where I could have had an option to buy you out for real value in the future after all the stuff that you've done. Not that I'd ever do that. Number 2 is you could have had the option to buy me out at some future valuation if you wanted to take the business forward and I didn't. Or number 3, you get the business to a certain level and then we sell it together into the market for a really premium valuation because of all the things that we've actually done working together. So, I love Equity Partner as a segue into future M&A going forward. I think that's going to be really, really cool.
We're also seeing it as a solution in the middle of deal origination too, where you're finding people that you love their business, but you just can't buy it. It's lacking that transfer of value, and being able to still make a deal happen because it's another option available, right? We're seeing it all the time where it's that catch-22. Like, I'd love to buy your business. Unfortunately, the bank's not going to finance this acquisition because of X, Y, and Z, which is ironic because if I was in the business, I could solve X, Y, and Z and then make it financeable. So we're seeing people do these annuity option deals. We're seeing people do consulting for equity, no money out of pocket, even getting paid retainer fees day one to get into the business they're trying to acquire, almost like a BIMBO, but an EIMBO, like an earn-in management buyout, where you're getting in there, making the changes necessary to make the business financeable, and then being able to buy the business owner out from there. I mean, that's truly revolutionizing people's worlds. I mean, you're able to take somebody whose path is doom. You're not going to be able to sell your business. You don't have the answers. Otherwise, you would have already done it. Maybe the clock's ticking. You're 63 years old, and be able to literally help people exit at a predetermined multiple, predetermined EBITDA. I mean, it's massive. You and Bronson have the Bronson-Allen method, the Allen-Bronson method. We have the annuity option deal. We have the ability to get in there. And essentially, when you find the right business that has maybe sunk equity, like buying a house that's way undervalued, you can do that with businesses without having to pay a dime out of pocket. So I think it's cool because consulting for equity is not just a solution for deal makers like us and people that we already teach, but it's also a solution for somebody who's out there who doesn't want to make somebody else rich and finance their boss's boat. It also is a great option for somebody trying to build a portfolio of cash flowing passive income from doing the same thing they do professionally for the last 20 years. It's also a great option for agencies and marketing agencies and firms and CFO firms and accountants and attorneys to literally not just help their clients grow and exit, but instead participate in the upside. I mean, it's such a crazy market.
I love that. And like, I see a lot of businesses now, their offers kind of contingent on X, right? So the CPA firm will have an offer that they don't get fees, they get a percentage of the tax that the business saves or something like that. That'd be a perfect example of an equity partner deal. We can say, hey, yeah, I'll do it. I'll save you a whole bunch of tax. And then that's gonna, we're gonna have a lot more money to reinvest in the business. That'll make it more valuable going forward. But I don't just want a fee. I want a piece of the deal, right? So, I see a lot of, and you see a lot of that in the startup world, right? So oftentimes a lot of startups especially in the tech space, they don't have the capital to hire people to solve their problems. So they'll go and they'll give away free equity. It's the exact same process, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is the same process, but from what you and I talk about, staying away from startups would be my suggestion, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's the idea of you have resources that you can leverage and trade for equity. And there's a lot of scenarios where someone maybe could afford to hire you, but they don't want to spend the cash. And I think it all comes back to what makes us different in the marketplace around consulting for equity, Carl, is that equity partner angle. When you go around and you ask for equity, you're going to fail quite often. It's not a very wonderful scenario. It feels kind of slimy, but instead learning the art of getting people to offer you equity gives you so much more leverage, allows you to have better, more favorable equity positions in the company, and allows you to ask for more money up front and getting paid and being able to, it's a game of inches, Carl. It's knowing exactly how to frame it, exactly what to say. You've been on my trainings where I teach negotiating consulting for equity. Learning how to balance the risk on both sides, learning how to reduce resistance during negotiations, learning how to maintain leverage the entire time, learning how to be the one taking the concession rather than the other party to make sure that you're going to win, going for a win-win, but solving for your win first. Like, I think it's just the little things that make the biggest difference. So yeah, I'm excited about it overall. I think we're going to have tens of thousands of people over the next 5 years go through this program and be able to do some really, really cool things.
Yeah, I know. And like one of the other things that we're really passionate about, and we just bought a company that does this, is you and I are very passionate about investing in real estate. I get asked all the time, should I invest in business acquisitions or should I invest in real estate? The real estate investing market is probably 1,000 times bigger than the M&A space right now. And then you and I do both, right? And we have tax efficient ways of, I remember that house you bought, because you're buying rental properties like all the time. I remember you bought a rental property and you used a distribution from one of the businesses that we own to make the down payment, right? And I just thought that's so cool. And that's the one thing that got me into doing real estate as well. And what I've noticed is there's a massive transferable skill set from the much larger real estate investing market to the much smaller M&A business market, in that real estate investors, they know how to originate deal flow, they know how to build relationships, they know how to raise capital, they know how to negotiate. And the process of transferring the ownership of a piece of real estate is kind of very similar to the process transferring business ownership. So we saw a lot of people come in from real estate coaching programs into Protégé just to hedge the market and do both things. Where I remember you and I woke up one day and we said, well, we should buy, we never start companies, right? We should buy a real estate coaching company. So you and Ross went to that event down in Tampa and, you met the owners of Partner Driven, and now we own that company, and we kept Peter and Julie in as our partners, right? I know we're really excited about that business. And what's great about doing a roll-up, which is obviously what we're doing, is when you have one company that has a customer base and it has a product or an offer, and then you buy another company that's complementary, as a complementary customer base and a complementary offer, you can cross-sell, right? And we're going to start doing that, right? We bought the company in January, we're now in July. We've been playing with that business and tweaking it and optimizing it over the past 6 months. We now can cross-sell, because all of those partner-driven clients are saying, well, whoa, what's this business acquisition stuff? I want to get into that. And all of our protégés are like, whoa, real estate investing. Yeah, I bought these business deals, I'm cash flowing distributions. I want to put that money into another asset class. So that cross-pollination, that cross-selling, we're able to start doing that now. And that's really powerful, right?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to see what we've done with Partner Driven and what we're doing with it moving forward. And then there's so much synergies between the two. So I think that's the power of a roll-up. And you teach on roll-ups a lot. You talk about single silo roll-ups versus multi-silo roll-ups. The two that we're doing currently are multi-silo, where they are all around a certain customer avatar, and being able to sell the same customer without the cost of customer acquisition, leveraging those cross-selling opportunities. But overall, Yeah, I love the direction we're going in, partner driven. Our Peter, Julie, Rafa, Chelsea, our partners are incredible. And really, a lot of this comes down to back to the skill of consulting for equity as well, right? A lot of these deals will originate, whether we acquire the whole thing, acquire part of it. It comes down to a very magnetic approach where people are coming to us saying, hey, I see what you're doing. I see that we're having this problem. We're at this plateau. We've taken it as far as we can. We're looking for someone to partner with to take us to the next level. And Carl, most of our deals come to us from that. And I think that's the power of being able to blend the traditional deal making with the world of consulting.
I agree.
Yep. It's all about being in the right rooms though, man. You said it really well. I mean, we actually met Rafa before that event, but that's where we be able to solidify the bond. And you and I have paid $30,000 to $60,000 in a year to jump into a mastermind. We actually met in a mastermind like that, but I think there's a lot of power to getting in the right rooms. And
but I want to show you something on that. I want to show you something on that note, right? So when I rocked up to my house in Austin on Monday, and I saw the 2 Comic Club X award, my wife took a picture of me holding it, and I sent it to our very, very good friend Todd Brown, right?
Yeah.
And so Todd's a very good friend of ours. Todd's an incredible marketer. We met in his top 1 mastermind, and I sent him the message. I said to Todd, like, hey, just wanted to send you another big thank you. Rocked up to my new Austin house with the family today, and this was waiting for me. This, you taught me what you taught me. I met Chris and some other amazing partners in Top One, and now we've built this massive 8-figure business. And he's like, love it. So excited for you. He said, remember when I told you you would be big time? And you are. Congrats, buddy. You've earned everything. Like, I just can love that. From the Godfather himself, right? It was like amazing. So yeah, we met in a mastermind, right? And I know, like, we have our own mastermind now, upper echelon. We meet 4 times a year. There's people in there doing billion-dollar roll-ups, right? We're bringing capital providers to these events. They're pitching. You look at what David Geralt's doing. You look at what we're doing with Ross. You look at the Erin Gray stuff. It's freaking insane, right? And I think the whole point of a mastermind, and this is, we learned this when we were with Todd, is I think the one thing that they teach you is how to think bigger, right? Like, how to think bigger. Like, if I'd have said to you even a year ago, we would have students doing billion-dollar roll-ups, right? Like, we would put a community together that would foster a mindset and a belief that you can create $1 billion in shareholder value by buying companies. Like, people would have thought we were smoking something, right? You and I don't do that, but it's incredible. The next one that we've got in not long, about 6 weeks, I think, we're down in Mexico, in Playa del Carmen with the upper echelon people and all the guest speakers that we're bringing in. It's going to be truly amazing. But you say it really well when we're talking about this with our community. It's all about finding your room of zebras, right? Like, what you and I are very unusual people in terms of business people and how we think. And we're not everyone's cup of tea, as they say in the UK. But we found our own room of zebras where people are like us. They've got the same core values. They've got the same mindset. We think way outside of the box. And I think as a collective, we can change the world, right?
100%. I think being a part of a group like this allows you to be around people who understand your ambitions. Because usually at home, people don't really understand. When someone says, what do you do for a living? For me, it's a very complicated answer. And I don't want to open up a big can of worms by explaining everything, but the way we think, the way we act, the way we carry ourselves, I mean, you've got to find people who are like you. And I think that's why it's so powerful. Talk about protege, humble brag for a minute on you and what we've done there. So many people have met their best friends just from joining Protege. They've met we just had 2 proteges get married last week. I didn't know if
that's right. I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's huge. I think there's so many people who are alone in their own thoughts where people don't understand the fact that they want to do something that sounds absurd or something that is not normal. Yet there are a lot of other people out there like you. So I think joining groups like people inside of Protege they're finding not just their best friends, sometimes their husbands or wives, spouses, whatever, but also future partners, accountability for the first time. And they're also just getting validated that, wow, what I think is not crazy. And there's actually other people out there who are thinking like me. And it changes everything. We talk about inside the equity partner. I was actually building out some of these modules and lessons just today, Carl, around the equity partner angle, specifically mastermind groups, conferences and events, Facebook groups, local meetups, trade shows, like how to find your perfect ideal scenario business owner who has a bleeding problem that you're able to solve. You're able to leverage your resources in exchange for equity and get them to offer you equity. And what's so cool about that is these people have a mindset of wanting to better themselves. They have a mindset of wanting to collaborate, wanting to find a solution to a problem. People don't just join masterminds for the hell of it because it's expensive. People don't just go to these big ass conferences for the hell of it because they're expensive. Like we had Dealmaker Weekend 3 times last year. We had people paying $7,500 to be in the room for 3 days, just sit in the front row and get to hang out with us backstage. Like it's an investment, but my uncle taught me this many, many years ago, Carl. He said, you hang out with the people you want to be in 10 years.
Yeah.
I also heard from another mentor, always seek to be in bigger playgrounds. I also learned from someone who taught me consulting that you consult for millionaires, don't ever consult for thousandaires, because the same problem and time is so much more valuable for people who have more money and more success. Like masterminds is where you find a seat at the table with bigger players. Masterminds programs like we have is where you find your room of zebras. So yeah.
Completely agree.
Well, Carl, I've got another podcast I'm actually hopping on in just a minute, so I've got to run.
Yeah, no worries, buddy. But hey, appreciate you coming on and riffing. We should do this once a month because there's so much stuff that we're doing right now. We should tell our viewers like all the really cool things that we're doing. But really appreciate you, man. Have a great day down in Jacksonville. For everybody else, hope you enjoyed the latest edition of the Creative Dealmaker Podcast. We will see you next time. And until then, bye for now.
Hey, and by the way, if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, you can always go to YouTube and watch the video because I know everyone wants to see Carl looking like an angel on his throne. So
his throne with the rays coming to the window.
So if you're listening on Spotify, you don't have video, you can always go to YouTube, type in the Creative Dealmaker Podcast or search Carl and Alan Official, and the playlists are all there with all the episodes and all the extras.
Thank you for the plug, man.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks.